So I was on the internet one day looking around and I just thought, gosh, you know what? What women are out there doing what in the world of outdoor fun? And what I stumbled upon was a site called Trail Dames. And I was like, whoa, tell me more about Trail Dames. And as I dug in a little bit more, I found out that I've got like this sister on the other side of the United States that I didn't know I had. And her name's Anna. And she not only takes women out on the trails and not only talks about personal empowerment and all around her power coming into it, she also plays a violin, which now I don't play a violin, but I can torture the hell out of one. So I'm hoping that you'll enjoy this conversation today. And thank you so much for being here. Anna, thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
Hey, Kelly, I am actually doing fantastic.
Good, good. I figured you would. Like anyone who runs around in the woods and also plays violins and has fun. It's going to be doing fantastic, right?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about what you do, about Trail Dames, and so people can get to know why I went, this woman has got to be on the podcast.
Okay, well, let's see. I'm going to jump in and tell you this is so funny because I have a trail names podcast, and what I always say is, my name is Anna Huthmaker, but all my friends call me Mudbutt, and Mudbutt is my trail name. So if we're out hiking, you can say, "Hey, Anna," and I will answer you. But if you say, "Hey, Mudbutt," not only will I answer you, I'm going to assume you're a friend right off the bat. So, yeah, the outdoors and hiking is my passion, but my whole life has been steeped in music. And I'm going to say, actually, I'm also the world's worst violinist. Now, I have degrees in cello and bass. That's what I play. I like those low notes, the big instruments. And our family owns a violin shop. And technically, I became the sole owner a couple of years ago, but I still make my parents come in every opportunity possible. So I do spend my whole life surrounded by violins. And then when I go outside, surrounded by the mountains and the trails, and yeah, those two things together, it means that most of the time when you ask me how I am, I'm going to say fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. So what does Trail Dames do?
So Trail Dames, so technically Trail Dames is a hiking club for women of a curvy nature. That is our tagline, but it has ended up being a much bigger thing than just that. So Trail Dames was created. I created Trail Dames because I did not see anyone on the trail that looked like me. And for those of you guys driving down the road, not watching this, but listening to this, I am short and round. I have been rounder in my past life of my life, but I've always been overweight. And when I finally started hiking and fell in love with the trail, I just never saw any overweight women out there. So I started Trail Dames with that in mind to encourage women to get out there. Now, what has happened is we have encouraged women of all shapes and sizes to come out.
Yeah.
Trail Dames is going to be for you if you're either new to the outdoors or you're unsure about the outdoors. You really just don't know how to get out there and start doing it. If you are a 20-mile a day long distance hiker, you're going to enjoy meeting us because we're very cool, but our hikes are probably not going to be your hikes. We're for getting out there. We walk slow. We take lots of pictures. We laugh a lot. We usually go out to eat afterwards. We have grown, and we're trying to take over the country as quickly as we possibly can.
Oh, it's awesome because you're right. For the longest time, when I was out on trails, what I would see is either guys or I might occasionally see a woman who was usually like made me think that she came from Europe. She's long and lean.
Yes.
Those big strides, she's tearing up the trail. I'm thinking, oh, I don't think I could keep up with her. And that was what I saw. I do know that in the last few years, I've had the luxury and excitement of running into more and more people and getting more and more women out there because you're right. It really doesn't matter whether you're curvy or skinny or whatever. Walking is walking and trails take it to a new height.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's like a lot of things in this world. We grow up believing what the media shows us. And so for most of my life, the media, whether it be a magazine or TV or whatever, showed me that the women out on trails were, like you said, long and lean. They were on the cover of Backpacker magazine and they were fabulous. They just weren't me.
Yeah.
And so there does, and I don't care if you're riding horses, I don't care if you're rock climbing, I don't care what you're doing. If you've got to break through a little bit of that conditioning that we all have, then it takes, sometimes it helps if you have a tribe to break through that conditioning with. Trail Dames is that tribe, because if you come on a Trail Dames hike, I won't even say to you, you're not allowed to feel like you don't belong. You wouldn't possibly be able to feel like you don't belong,
Yeah.
because it just is immediately acceptance, and we're here doing this thing.
Yeah. And that's something I really love about women
Yeah.
is the ability to create community, have camaraderie, and whatever we do, right? Like whatever we do, but it's so good to have that. And it's so important to have that. It's like, I mean, if you've ever read Blue Zones is one of them that comes to mind. And one of the pieces of longevity is community. And having that community is so important.
It's so important. And also there's this magic. So first of all, women, we're good at connection. We do that well. We're good at emotionally being open with each other. But this magic happens when you do it outdoors. And an extra piece of magic happens when this is gonna sound silly, but when you're facing the same direction. So, they tell parents that if you want to
Interesting.
have a serious talk with your teenager, do it in the car when you're both looking forward.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have been told that. I don't have kids, but it makes sense to me. And the same thing kind of happens if you're walking down a trail side by side with somebody, or even if one of you is a little bit in front of the other, the conversation can go deeper and to places that are more healing faster than you even imagined. And before you even know it, you'll be telling this stranger some of your special deep stuff and your dark stuff, and they're doing the same thing with you. And an hour later, you're like, you just feel so connected. And I think a lot of that is the magic of the outdoors as well. And the movement, when you're doing movement. I've met several people who, and I bet you've met a lot of these women who they do walk and talk therapy, and they found
Right.
if you're moving and if you're outdoors, it's just a lot easier to just express yourself and be yourself.
Yeah. I love that. And you are so correct. There is magic in the outdoors. Always, you just know it. You know it when you get out there, you see people's faces change.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm going to change conversation for a second because you mentioned something to me early on before we went live about learning about power, coming into your power, and at one time being afraid of it. Can you talk about that for just a second?
Yes, absolutely. So, I've spent my whole life, I'm 54. I just turned 54, so I had to think about it. I'm 54. I spent my whole life not knowing if the way I felt was an Anna thing or if everyone felt this way. But most of my whole childhood, I was kind of scared, and nobody would have ever called me brave, even though I was performing on stage for thousands of people all the time. Something about my body and being strong and going out and doing something, I would think about doing them, but these ideas just kind of always scared me because I didn't feel like I had the actual strength emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, all the above. And it is interesting because some of my early, even like middle school, not super early, but these memories would be of things like, oh, my church did a walkathon and it was like 20 miles. Could I do that? Like I always had these thoughts. Could I go do these things? And when I discovered exercise, I was a senior in high school, and a friend's sister was teaching aerobics. This was the 80s. We wore leotards and did aerobics. It was great, feel the burn. And I was all of a sudden, like, I'm not a very particularly strong person. Like, I can't bench press a lot and my squats are terrible. However, there's this feeling that comes about, at least in me, that when I started using my body the way was meant to be used. The body is meant to work,
Right? It's meant to move.
It's meant to
Absolutely.
move. And I feel that way when I walk all the time. Like, it's so interesting because, I put on a little bit of COVID weight, like so many people. And like I said, I'm 54. I'm perimenopausal. Hopefully, God soon menopausal, which means I creak and I'm a little stiff and nothing seems to really move as well as we would like it to. But as soon as I start putting one foot after the other, I start feeling like my body's going, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I start feeling strong. And when I go up hills, I feel strong. And that's something that I didn't grow up having. I kind of had to work hard to get it. Oh, but it's the best feeling. Once you can get it, it's the best feeling.
You know, I'm glad you said that because sometimes I hesitate using that word. Like, because I don't teach people how to lift weights.
Mhm.
I teach them how to move, right? And do it consistently. And sometimes I'm afraid to use the word strong because I don't want them to think, oh, you're going to be in the gym lifting right and left. But the
Right.
truth is that when we feel strong, whether it's in our body or our mind, or our hearts, then we can do so much more.
Oh, you can take over the world. It's incredible. And for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I cannot separate the feeling of physical strength from mental, from emotional. Now, they're not always equal, but they go hand in hand. And I think that for me, it is interesting because you hear that idea that we don't want women to be afraid of bulking up or getting big muscles and all that kind of stuff. I think one of the things, because my general body in general, like shape, my muscles, they're all kind of short and compact. Like if I were an Olympic athlete, I would never have been like a runner or a high jumper or whatever. I don't have that long lean, I'm short and compact. And somebody once told me, oh, you're built for strength. And it made me kind of feel proud. It made me feel like, oh, this body that God gave me, the universe gave me, oh, it's good for something. I can't do the splits, but I can climb a mountain. That,
Right.
I can go uphill for 5 hours without stopping if I want to. And so I think for me, strength has such a positive connotation because it means, yes, I'm supposed to be this way.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I do. That's well, I remember one of my people saying, I want to be able to get on an airplane with my backpack and turn around and put it over my head and toss it into the overhead bin. And no one even considers asking me if I need their help. And
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
great.
yep, isn't that nice? Like that's a strength. That's a strength that we have internally that we can like show externally.
Well, and I just had to say, I want to meet that woman because I love the way she put that, because for me, immediately that definition of strength, it didn't only encompass putting a backpack over your head in the compartment. It encompassed, you got on a plane, you're going somewhere.
Right.
And you're the
an
kind of person who's
adventurer.
taking a backpack. Yeah. Like all
You
of a
got a
sudden that's,
backpack.
yeah, that strength means a lot of different things. And that's pretty cool.
It does. Yeah, that little teeny weeny story is like gives me chill bumps if I really think about it. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, there we are, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay. So tell me this. I'm going back to trail dames for a second. What's next for you guys? Has it been like, it's been a little weird the last couple of years. So are you guys doing events all over the country, or are you in one area, or how does it work if somebody wanted to just find y'all?
Wow. Okay. First of all, yes, hasn't it been just super weird for everybody? So if you want to find us, traildames.com. It's very simple. We have a website, and then it lists the chapters that we have. So the way the board decided to deal with COVID when it first started happening is, at first we did do like a 2 month shut everything down. Don't we feel kind of naive now, like back 2 years ago,
Oh,
we didn't
right.
know anything,
We knew nothing.
yeah, we're just trying to figure out, get it, what's going on, and then we have chapters around, and each chapter has 1 or 2 women that are in charge. They're called the head dames. And what we did is we empowered each head dame to make her own choices, because as we've all learned, everyone has very different opinions and very different comfort levels when it comes to this pandemic. And so I have a couple of different chapters where our head dames have very serious underlying health conditions. And they either have just now started hiking again, or one of them is not yet. And we support her in that because we want her to get out when she's comfortable. We have a couple of chapters that as soon as we open back up, jump back out there. And, some of the, we have some basic national guidelines, but we really try to make every chapter feel like they can do what feels right to them. I will say this, if we have to have a world pandemic, nobody wanted this, but if we have to have it, thank you thank you so much that the safest thing you can do is do something outside. Like, how great is that?
It's true.
If
It's
because
true.
again, my other life is music, symphonies shut down everywhere, Broadway shut down, rehearsals, chamber music. Now people are trying to play concerts in a mask. Do you know how miserable that is? So I'm very, very grateful that in Trill Dames, we are outside, and that is one of the things that is still really safe for you to do if you're distancing and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, you're right. It is interesting. I think that someday when we look back, I mean, well, right now, you and I have both seen it, the number of people who have discovered the great outdoors the last couple of years
oh
is
yeah,
shocking, right?
it's shocking, maybe not in the best way.
Right. I know. I
You know,
don't want to be a snob, but yeah, you're like,
oh,
oh my gosh, where did all these people come from?
and I want your listeners to think that I'm a lovely person, and usually I am very much a lovely person. But let me tell you, those first couple of months, my everyone, if you're an outdoor person, your social media exploded with pictures of like like Forest Service roads with cars parked as far as the eye could see. And I'm like, oh, no. This is my outdoors. You people need to go home. And I was not very lovely back then. And so, but
No,
now
I understand.
you
I
understand.
I
Just
absolutely understand.
there's enough outdoors for everyone. There's enough outdoors for everyone. That's what I tell myself. Please stay off my favorite trails.
That's your new mantra instead of let's get outdoors and play.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I
We'll
love
probably
you.
have to
Pick
cut
another
this.
trail.
I'll be like, oh, we cut this entire section. Everybody will be like, listen to those two.
No, but the funny thing is that all my outdoor people, friends, they all agree, I mean, you understand, if any woman comes up and says, oh my gosh, I discovered hiking during the pandemic, I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm sorry we had a pandemic, but hey, I want women everywhere to get out on the trail. So if I have to put up with parking difficulties and a little crowding, I can do that. So
Yeah, no, I agree. Because there's just like so much that women get. I mean, even more than men. I truly believe this, even more than men. You learn that you can do things that might have been a little uncomfortable, that you don't have to be afraid of the outdoors. And, I mean, almost 99.999% of the time, I am so comfortable in the outdoors, it would never occur to me not to be,
yeah.
so yeah.
But I also want to say you can be afraid of the outdoors, but do it anyway. Because, and that is that so many of the women that come to the Dames, they're concerned about the real outdoor stuff like snakes and bears. They're concerned about just this idea, what if I get hypothermia, or what if I run out of water? A lot of them are just concerned with how they're going to look. What if I'm too slow? What if I'll hold up this group of women that I never even met before, and they all don't think nice things about me? So bring all those fears, but come anyway. That's what I like to always tell women.
I agree, because like I think that's one of the biggest fears is I'm going to be the one holding people back.
Always
And
that. And then I had to tell you, like, if there was a tagline for trail names, it would be that,
yeah,
that don't worry, I promise you're not holding anyone back.
right. Like,
Plus,
yeah,
yeah,
I've
plus
been
we
the one
always
holding
say,
people back.
we all, oh, please. That's why, I mean, I did, when I fell in love with hiking, I spent years hiking by myself. And I did all my learning by myself. It was a slower learning curve than it needed to be, but because I was so afraid of holding people back. And but one of my trail dames said years ago, and she was absolutely right, at the back of the pack, that's where all the fun happens, and it's where all the transformation occurs. And so, because all
Nice.
respect to everyone on a trail names hike, but it's those 3 or 4 of us in the back that are really pushing extra hard. That's where the good stuff is really happening.
Yeah. And I am so glad you brought that up, because if there's one myth that I could go out of this life having blown to smithereens, is that we're going to hold people back,
Yeah.
because you're right. That's where the transformation happens. Yeah.
You know what the funny thing is that you mentioned how women more than men, we just get all this great stuff from the trail. So of course we're talking in generalities, of course. And I love men probably more than most people. I adore men, but we do generally have a different approach. And for us, for women, the approach is about the journey, not the destination, normally. And for me, what that really means is I'm not usually paying any attention to how fast someone else is going anyway. I never almost never think, oh, they're kind of slow. Or all the time I think, oh, they're really fast, because then I'm too slow. But mostly we're having conversation. We're talking. They're telling me about their kids, their job. We're discussing the latest movie we saw that's so fantastic, Lord of the Rings, whatever. And so that judgment that we think everyone else has about us, we have about us. That's it. We have about ourselves. So,
Nope, that's so true. And I have to tell you a really bad story on myself. It's not about being in the back. It's about new people on the trails. My sister was with me on a hike, and we're hiking along, and we come up on this lady, and she's standing there, and she's just like standing there like a statue, right? And I'm like, okay. And she said, snake. I went, snake. And I looked down, and there's a snake, right? And I went, ah, that's a good looking snake. Not thinking at all. Step across, keep going. My sister's the one that said, Kelly, that woman is terrified. Go back and help her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so right. Like, where was my brain? Like, it was not in the help mode.
I love it. Well, my friends get sick and tired of hearing my same stories over and over and over and over. But I do have to tell you, when I first came into hiking, my very first hike ever, I got invited to go on by a very good looking man. And there was all these really cool people, and I just wanted to be like them. And we're going on a hike, right? And I just got in my head that real hikers, weren't afraid of snakes, and they loved to go uphill, and that's what I needed to be. And I spent years, and I would go hiking, and I would just say to myself over and over, I'm not afraid of snakes, and I love to go uphill. And now it took several years, I won't lie. But both of those things came true. And for women that are out there that are worried about snakes, I will tell you, number one, if you go on a group hike at all, you have a lot less chance of seeing them because we make so much noise. I mean,
Right? We make so much noise.
Yeah,
They're
10 women
gone.
walking along the ground there. Like, yeah, you're not going to see usually bears, snakes out where we scare them. We tell people that we don't see wildlife because we are the wildlife, but it's true, So, I will say this too, just as a total little aside. I don't know how many of your listeners are going to run out and start hiking, but if you truly are worried about a specific thing like snakes, Facebook has all groups for everything. I found a giant Facebook snake identification group for Georgia, where I live. And now I won't lie, for the first couple of weeks, there was just like nothing but snakes on my Facebook feed, which was not quite what I had in mind. But within a few days, I was appreciating their beauty. I was able to kind of identify them. I learned a lot. And then even more so, I'm not afraid of snakes at all, and I do love going uphill now because I feel strong. We get back to that
Wow.
strength word. So
That is so good. So we went all across the board here, but before we wrap up, let me ask you, is there something that you would like all of us to go away from today, knowing, thinking about anything in general, other than
well,
snakes are great and I love to go uphill?
I'm trying to think about all the things I want to say, and I'm not trying to sound like a really bad Oprah episode, but I think if there's one thing I would want to say, that what I would want everyone to actually feel, and this is actually what I have to remind myself of every day, and that is that you really are worth it. You are worth taking the time, and if hiking is not your thing, because I meet amazing women who look at me and they go, oh no, ma'am, that is not my thing. That's fine. But whatever thing out there that's calling to you, I loved your story. I looked at, when you were a little girl, that horse called to you and you found a way to own a horse. Whatever is calling to you, you may think that you're too busy being a mom or a wife or a career or whatever, and that you really don't deserve the personal growth in your life and to have these things that you love and that you want to have, but you're worth it. And when you reach out and you learn something new, you try something, you become, I don't know, the energy you put out, it makes all the people around you want to do the same thing. And all of a sudden, everyone around you is going, ooh, I'm going to go try this. And I'm going to go try this. And you literally will make your community richer. It's so cool. It's small little things, but it's so cool. You're worth it. So I just wish that not just now, because it's beginning of January and we all want to go out and be perfect and amazing, but in May, when you're sitting on your couch and you go, you know what, I always wanted to learn more about oil painting, or I always want to learn how to play golf, whatever it is. Yeah, go just go do a Google search, find a meetup group and do it, because you're worth paying that into yourself. Sorry,
Thank
I
you.
could go on about this for a while because it's a really
No, I love it because you're right. And it's so much more, like you said. I mean, not only do you enrich the people around you, but you also, if you are ever afraid that you're taking time away from people in your life, you're really instead giving something back to them that they'd never get any other way.
Yeah, absolutely. I have two fabulous friends. It's not really often that you can have three women be really, really close, like that triangle friendship, but I have a few of them. And one of them, it's so neat because the other two women do have children. And they talk about how taking away, every couple of months we get together, the three of us, and they talk about how their kids go, oh, you're going to spend time with your friends. And they talk about how they're teaching their children to honor adult friendships and to feed your own soul and put time and effort and energy into all your relationships in your life. And it's a really cool thing. Some women would go, oh no, that takes away. I can't do that. I've got to be home. No, you're teaching your kids that. You're
giving them a gift.
Yeah, you're giving them a gift. You really are.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And once again, your URL is just traildames.com.
Traildames.com. We have, go visit the website. We have a charitable foundation. We collect money and help other women get out there. Usually when there's not COVID going on, we have a conference every other year that we do, a women's hiking and backpacking conference. We have a Trail Dames podcast, which I'm really excited because rumor has it that Kelly, you're going to come be on it. Let's start. Which would be a lot of fun, I think. And so we have a lot going on, and we'd love to see you on the trail sometime. So
thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.